We are going to be looking at another interesting area of principle of accounting known as errors and suspense accounts. Accounting errors are common mistakes made while recording or posting accounting entries. These mistakes are not fraudulent and are generally not intentional. On the other hand, suspense accounts are accounts used temporarily to carry doubtful entries and discrepancies, pending their analysis and permanent classification, or pending their discovery and rectification. When we treated the trial balance, we were meant to know that the debit side and the credit side of the trial balance are supposed to be the same. That is, they are supposed to agree. However, in some cases, there are times where the two sides of the trial balance may not agree. This non-agreement may be as a result of some errors. We have already said that errors are common mistakes made during recording by the bookkeeper. Now, how do we correct these errors? Some errors can be corrected with just the use of journals, while some errors can only be corrected with the use of the journal and the suspense account. This brings us to two types of errors. Under our treatment of errors and suspense account, we are going to be looking at two types of errors. One, the errors that when they occur, the trial balance will not agree. That means when these errors occur, the debit side and the credit side of the trial balance can never be the same. On the other hand, there are some errors that when they occur, the trial balance will still agree. That means the debit side and the credit side will be the same. That means this kind of error may be deceptive since the trial balance, debit and credit side agrees. So in our study of errors and suspense accounts, we are going to take these two errors, that is, errors that when they occur, the trial balance will not agree, and errors that when they occur, the trial balance will agree. We are going to treat these two errors thoroughly because they constitute a very great deal in our foundation studies. Now we're going to begin with errors that disrupt the agreement of the trial balance. However, before we go into the study of errors and suspense accounts in details, it will be wise for us to let you know that for you to be able to go through these topics, you must have basic knowledge in certain areas of accounting. They include these areas. One, you must have basic knowledge of the double entry principles. That is, you must be able to identify accounts to be debited and accounts to be credited. This means that once an account is mentioned, you should be able to know whether such accounts usually have a debit balance or whether such accounts usually have a credit balance. Remember that we said that assets and expenses usually have debit balances, while income, capital, and liabilities usually have credit balances. Therefore, if I should mention an error in respect of an account like purchases, you should immediately be able to identify that purchases account usually have a debit balance. Also, if I'm treating error and I mention account like sales account, your mind should go straight that the sales account usually have a credit balance. Also, if I should mention an account like discount allowed, you should know immediately that discount allowed accounts usually have debit balances. If I mention discount received account in the process of me treating errors and suspense accounts, your mind should go straight that discount received accounts usually have a credit balance. If I should mention receivable accounts, it is debit balance that runs to your mind. And when I mention payable accounts, credit balance immediately comes to your memory. So If you are able to identify accounts to be debited and accounts to be credited, your problem in errors and suspense accounts is almost half solved. Having a good knowledge of the double entry principles means that you should be able to prepare the 1-column cash book, the 2-column cash book, and the 3-column cash book. You should be able to post transactions that relate to them to the appropriate ledgers and be able to extract a trial balance. This means that you must have a perfect knowledge of how the trial balance can be prepared. You should also have knowledge of the preparation of the statement of profit or loss account and other comprehensive income. Your knowledge of the statement of financial position is also needed in our treatment of errors and suspense accounts. However, if you don't have a good knowledge in these areas I have mentioned, you need not to worry because our explanations are usually down to earth. Your ability to have good knowledge in the areas we have just mentioned will enable you to understand this topic, error and suspense accounts, better. So now we are going to be looking at the first form of error in accounting, which is errors that when they occur, the trial balance will not agree. That is error that when they occur, the debit side and the credit side of the trial balance will not agree. Remember that we said that for this kind of error, the use of the journal and the suspense account is required. Let's take a look at some questions. So we are looking at errors and suspense accounts. And we are going to be looking at errors that disrupt the agreement of the trial balance. That means that when this error occurs, the trial balance debit side and the credit side will not be the same. One of the errors that disrupts the agreement of the trial balance is casting error. So under casting errors, we are going to be looking at errors of overcast and errors of undercast. To treat questions that involves error of overcast and undercast, the suspense account is required. We are also going to pass this entry through the journal. You should note that before any form of error can be treated in an examination, a question has to be given to you. And in that question, the position of the trial balance will be made known. It is either the debit side of the trial balance is greater than the credit side, or that the credit side of the trial balance is greater than the debit side. Whichever side that is greater will be made known to you before you start answering other questions. It is only when they have let you know the side of the trial balance that is greater that questions can be given to you. One of such questions that can be given to you are errors of overcast or undercast. You should note that also your knowledge of journal is very important in our treatment of errors and suspense accounts. That is how to prepare the purchases daybook, the sales daybook, the return inwards daybook, and return outwards daybook, and also how to treat transactions in journals that involves journal proper. Illustration 1. Upon extracting the trial balance of Victory Enterprises, it was discovered that the credit total was less than the debit total by $6,222. Further investigation revealed the following. Sales daybook was overcasted by $1,000. The first thing we are told in this question is that the credit total is less than the debit total of the trial balance by $6,222. What it means is that the debit side is greater than the credit side by $6,222. Since the debit side is greater than the credit side, or the credit side is less than the debit side, what we do is that we open a suspense account and record that $6,222 on the side that is smaller. That is the credit side. The credit side is already short with $6,222. So we go to the suspense account and record $6,222 at the credit side of the suspense account. That is the first step. The question will always give you the side that is smaller. That is either the debit side of the trial balance or the credit side of the trial balance. Any side that is smaller, any balance with which it was smaller, it should be placed on that particular side. In this our illustration, it is the credit side that is smaller with $6,222. So we go to the credit side of the suspense account and record as our balance $6,222. That should be your first step whenever you are answering questions in suspense account. So having opened the suspense account, we have balance carried down 6,222. So the opening balance can either be on the credit side or on the debit side, depending on the size of the trial balance that is lesser.